Servant, Season 2, Episode 4, 2 o'clock. I'm Joe. Please subscribe to this channel. That was something else. That was not where I predicted the show was going. I was not expecting Dorothy to turn into a torture artist. Just wow. I was mentioning how she had a full psychotic break, and maybe she is psychotic, and before she was a sociopath. This episode proved it. She's just pure evil. Wasn't expecting that. Should have expected it from the standpoint of a publicity still that I've used in some of these episodes, showing Dorothy with the serving tray. I didn't know what that meant. Why she got the serving tray? It's because she is holding someone captive and serving them as she holds them captive. Fantastic episode. Let's just go through what happens. This is basically the episode where we see that Dorothy is trying to break Leanne, and she's going under the pretense that Leanne is under some religious indoctrination. She has cult beliefs running through her, and she's trying to break her, and she thinks she's doing a good thing by trying to break a child who has entered into a cult. She says, "You're not as strong as you think you are. Don't go up to her and talk to her." Because he's not as strong as he thinks he is. He's not as strong, period. He's weak. He's not doing anything to help Leanne. He's letting Dorothy do this insanity that's happening on a whole false notion that Leanne stole Dorothy's child. This episode was just wild. I don't know where they're going with this show. The next episode's called Cake, and it says something about Leanne's baking a mysterious cake. Who knows what the hell's happening? The interactions between Dorothy and Leanne became more and more violent, more and more tense. At 2 o'clock, Dorothy wakes up, goes up into the attic where they're holding Leanne hostage, and starts by just hurting her hand, and then starts by shaking her. Then there's one time, they don't even show it, she goes up there, you just hear smacks and slaps, and then she runs down exasperated. And then the final time is the end of the episode at 2 o'clock, where she goes up there, Leanne tries to trick her, hits Dorothy over the head, runs down the stairs. She still can't get out of the front door, Leanne. Dorothy whacks her, and then buries her in the dirt that they tried to fix in the basement from the hole, leaving nothing but a garden hose for her to breathe from. Like, torture methods. Every time it happens at 2 o'clock. Dorothy doesn't know why these are happening at 2 o'clock, as she says, "My body is remembering something my mind forgot." At the end of the episode, it's revealed that at 2 o'clock was the moment that she realized she had left Jericho in the car to be baked to death. And that brings up the question, does Dorothy know that she's waking up and beating her like this when she's walking around in a daze the rest of the day and she's doing her fluff pieces on the news about chicken sandwiches? Does she know that she's doing this every night? Because she walks in the next morning and says, "How did you sleep?" So is she in some kind of rage in her head? Does she know she's doing this the rest of the day? And there's the other portion that somehow Leanne's behind it. Because remember, Leanne is a part of a cult that believes in, self-flagellation, that believes in punishment, that believes in pain. Perfectly content just sitting around doing nothing up there. So somehow she has to be behind it. Just outstanding, and we don't know where it's going next. But Dorothy has full psychotic evil, and it's fantastic. Didn't expect that at all. The other aspect of the episode was Sean's role in all this. Sean is trying to find a key to get up to the attic because Dorothy says you can't. He's trying to find the key to go up there, and he's trying to be nice to her, while still protecting Dorothy, advocating for Dorothy, which you can tell is just not worth it because Dorothy's evil. He's up there, he's talking to her, he's bringing her food, he lets her use the bathroom. But then he has the conversation where he says, "Where is he? Bring him back to us." And she's like, "Where's who?" "Jericho." Jericho's dead. So she's basically calling him out on the fact that he is going along with this BS, reminding him that they are holding her against her will for a complete lie. She's reading the Bible verse, which was Samuel 24:12. I wrote it in chicken scratch, but essentially the Bible verse was about judgment from God. God being the one to punish. I will not raise my hand against you, but God will judge between you and me actually. And that's what she's reading. And then as she reads that, they're having dinner. Dorothy's still going on this whole BS premise about how I feel bad for the children and the torture victims. Like she's doing some godly thing by trying to unprogram a religious cult member when now she's just torturing someone. We discover that Sean gets his sense of taste back. And at first you think, well, she's being nice to Sean by getting him back his sense of taste, but it wasn't just the sense of taste, it was the sensation. It was senses in general, because later that night, after Dorothy beats the crap out of her, that is when he wakes up from his hand, his burnt leper hand starts burning again. And so he gets his feeling back. He gets his taste back, but he gets his feeling back in his hand. So she did that. Is she behind the 2 o'clock meltdowns of Dorothy? What's gonna happen? I don't know. I have no clue. You know, there's still this family with the mother with cancer. There's still the cult out there. One side note, and I think I may have mentioned this in past videos, but what is Dorothy's deal? Because Dorothy was at the scene when that cult standoff happened. She was there. She was a journalist there. She was investigating this. She seems to know more about, or they seem to know more about her from this experience, the cult. But now she's reduced to fluff pieces. She's been doing almost nothing but fluff pieces since season 1. Her down in the tunnel working with the sewage, and today you see her with the chicken sandwiches. She even takes a bite. Her doing the wind tunnel thing. She's always doing fluff pieces. So what happened to her career that she went from actual serious reporting to doing these ridiculous human interest fluff piece crap? That should be explored at some point, I would imagine. Food has been an element, but not as big as it was in season 1, which I think is for the best. I still laugh at the fact that they have someone upstairs being tortured and they're like making cuisine in the kitchen. You know, the century eggs dyed in tea, and then arguing about like what the secret ingredient is, and them always making fancy food while they basically have this situation going on. But it hasn't been as much about food as the first season was, but it's still definitely the element that's in there. Cinematography, again, what can you say? Fantastic, especially there's one shot towards the early on when Sean says, I just hope we're not drawing any lines by having her up there, and it's just basically a dolly shot that starts, goes over the table, and never stops. It leaves the room as they're talking. Very cool cinematography. Another dolly shot later in the day, later in the night episode, when it comes in from her after the attack into the room. Fantastic stuff. This season has been so far so good, and got 6 more episodes, so there's a lot left to cover. This also was the first episode that really kind of took place over the course of a few days, and you could tell just because of the amount of attacks that happened, the 4 or 5 attacks that happened at night. Very unusual, but even then it didn't feel like it crammed a lot. It was just showing these little tiny incidents. Leanne's just up there doing nothing. She's just occupying herself. She is patient. She is a master of whatever she's doing, because she doesn't seem to even be fazed by being up there, and she's the one who's influencing what's happening in the house, even though she is the victim. Outstanding. I can't wait for next week's episode. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'm Joe.